こんにちは、川田美穂子です。お元気ですか？ How are you today? This time topic is fashion. I believe a fashionable dresser means wearing clothes that look good on you. But how can you find clothes that look good on you? In this point, I'll tell you about my mother's experience in America in the distant past. My mother had been teaching Japanese flower arrangement since in her late teens, and she was very good at representing nature in a beautiful way. When she was in her 50s, she participated in a 40-day tour to America for interacting with local people of the same flower arrangement school in various cities. The tour was organized by the flower arrangement school she belonged to, and more than 100 Japanese instructors joined it. Although my mother had some difficulty, such as greasy and large amount of American foods and English language, she returned home with exceptionally happy memories. It was every time when she stepped off the airplane gangway, a great number of American people waiting for the tour group came to surround her while praising her as beautiful. My mother was a humble person and not one to exaggerate, so I could only imagine that of all the tour participants, she was the one who attracted American people the most. At the time, I simply thought she was tall, slender, and looked good in kimono, which was why so many American people had praised her as beautiful. However, it was not until I myself began to visit foreign countries wearing kimonos and also became more interested in my clothes that I was able to consider what my mother had experienced in America from a different angle. I remember the kimonos my mother usually wore were all bright and beautiful colored. I finally noticed she had chosen her kimono based on her own preferences rather than what other people thought of her. Her kimono was different from other participants because I think most of them wore subdued colored kimonos those days. Looking back, my mother always said she liked beautiful things. Now I understand her kimono was a true expression of her dignified characters, even though she was not conscious of it. As for myself, a major turning point was the encounter with the landlady of the room I lodged in Paris. Before COVID-19 pandemic, I spent several summers in Paris. I always rented a room in the same apartment. The landlady and I became good friends quickly, and from the second year on, she gave me a great discount on my rent fee. Thanks to her kindness, I was able to live in Paris very reasonably. Out of gratitude, I often invited her to lunch at the restaurant. She used to be an actress in her youth, and when we went to the restaurant together, she dressed more beautifully than usual. On our third visit to the restaurant, she asked me what I was going to wear. From the way she spoke, she seemed dissatisfied with my clothes. During the trip, I wore black, dark blue, or simple colored clothes I had brought from Japan. My clothes were probably too plain to go to a restaurant. I knew I had to be more careful with my clothes depending upon the case. I went to a second-hand store in Paris. Because of the low prices, I was able to buy several pieces of clothing in colors and designs that I would not normally buy in Japan. In Paris, each person dresses as they please and they don't care what other people think of them. In Japan, it's quite difficult to freely wear what they like because The Japanese people tend to choose their clothes based on trends, age, or what other people think of them. The unbounded and free thinking of people in Paris influenced my choice of clothing. I gradually began to choose clothes that I would like to wear. My range of clothing colors expanded greatly, so the new clothes seemed to fit my personality a little by little. Compared to my previous clothes, I got to look more active and cheerful. I remember when I wore a pink kimono in France, a local woman complimented me saying, "That color is very you." The landlady no longer asked me in advance what I was wearing when we went to the restaurant. Clothing is a great way of expressing who you are, and you must know yourself. When clothing matches your personality, it may be said to be clothing that suits you well. In this way, I became increasingly interested in fashion. I hope these stories will help you make your life more enjoyable.